black woman drove her sleek $70,000 Mercedes along Interstate 85 in the quiet hours of the night. To Officer Harlan Beck, the expensive car at that late hour could only mean one thing: it had to be stolen. He snatched the registration from Lena Rhodes' hand without even glancing at it, crumpled the paper, and flung it onto the gravel shoulder. "Out of the vehicle, hands up," he ordered. Lena stepped out slowly, palms raised, every movement careful and visible. She followed the instructions exactly as she had been trained to do in moments like this. Harlan grabbed her shoulder and slammed her against the car door. The dull thud of impact cut through the night air. Her coat snagged on the handle and tore. His breath was hot against her neck. "This car doesn't belong to you." "This is a mistake," she said quietly. "Sure it is, sweetheart." He wrenched her arm behind her back, the cuffs locked too tightly, metal biting into skin. "They all say that." He laughed. His partner laughed with him. Lena did not resist. She did not argue. Instead, she spoke with calm certainty, her voice steady. "Tomorrow morning you will see black robes. Your knees will buckle." Then clearly and without hesitation, she stated, "Officer, this is my vehicle. The registration is valid. I am Judge Lena Rhodes of the Fulton County Circuit Court. You can verify my identity through dispatch." Harlan laughed again, a full, mocking laugh that carried across the roadside. "Real creative. I'll give you that, Judge. That's a new one." A second patrol car pulled up, lights flashing but silent. Sergeant Diane Porter stepped out. She took in the Mercedes, Lena's expensive coat, her composed posture, and the complete absence of panic. She walked over to Harlan, boots crunching on gravel. "You sure about this one?" she asked in a low voice. "I'm sure," Harlan said. "Trust me." Diane nodded slowly. "Found it? Buy the book, then document everything. Vinha, the meaning was clear. Cover yourselves. Make it stick." Lena watched the exchange and filed it away. These two had done this before. They had a system. "May I call my husband?" she asked, her tone measured. "He is an attorney." "You'll get your phone call at the station," Harlan replied. "Like everyone else." 15 feet behind them, a third officer stood beside his patrol car. Officer Reed Harper, only 8 months out of the academy, kept his dash camera running. He said nothing. He did not move. His silence spoke volumes. Lena noticed him. Their eyes met briefly. He looked away too quickly. She recognized that look. Moral discomfort. The knowledge that something was wrong but no clear way to stop it. Diane approached Lena, now shining her flashlight directly into her face. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us to the station. You can sort all this out there." "Sort what out?" Lena asked. "The car is registered to me. The documents are valid. What am I being charged with?" "Suspicion of operating a stolen vehicle," Harlan said, already building the case, "and we'll add false impersonation of a public official while we're at it." Lena stopped arguing. There was no point here on the side of the highway with traffic rushing past. She would let the morning speak for her. Harlan returned to his patrol car and entered her information into the system. He waited, fingers tapping the steering wheel. The radio crackled. Dispatch confirmed the vehicle registration was valid, the record clean, no warrants, no stolen vehicle report. Harlan stared at the screen. The information did not match what he had expected. Diane appeared at his window. "Would it come back clean?" "It did," Harlan said, "but something's still off." "Trust your instincts," Diane replied. "If it feels wrong, document it, process her, we'll sort it at the station." In the back of the patrol car, Lena sat behind the partition, hands cuffed, the plastic seat cold through her coat. She had heard every word of the radio exchange. They knew the car was not stolen, yet they were continuing anyway. Her jaw tightened. She was no longer afraid. She was calculating, thinking 3 moves ahead. Harlan walked to the Mercedes and opened the passenger door for an inventory search. He found her leather briefcase on the seat, the initials embossed on the front. Inside were court documents, case files, business cards bearing her name, and the letterhead of the Fulton County Superior Court. Everything official, everything real. He flipped through the papers and saw a file tab marked State versus Harlan Beck. The name did not register. His ego would not allow it. Diane appeared at the passenger window. Harlan held up one of Lena's business cards. "She's got fake judge credentials. Professional job." "Book her for false impersonation too," Diane said. "Public official impersonation, that's a felony." Lena's voice came through the partition, controlled fury finally leaking through her composure. "Officer Beck, I strongly advise you to verify my identity through the courthouse before you proceed further. This will not end the way you think it will." Harlan slammed the briefcase shut and returned to the driver's seat. "They all try this," he said to Diane. "High-end car, fake credentials, probably got a lawyer boyfriend feeding her lines." "Just make sure your report is airtight," Diane replied. Behind them, Reed Harper shifted his weight from foot to foot. His dash camera continued recording every word, every movement, every violation. Harlan started the engine and pulled onto the interstate. Diane followed. Reed brought up the rear. 3 vehicles, lights flashing, no sirens. Lena sat in silence, conserving her energy, preparing for the real battle that would come with daylight. At the precinct, Lieutenant Victor Shaw sat at the booking desk. He signed the form without reading the details. Book her, process her, let day shift sort it out. Lena was fingerprinted and photographed. Her phone, purse, and keys were placed in a manila envelope along with her dignity. They led her to a holding cell. One other woman, drunk and asleep on the bench, snored softly. Lena sat on the opposite end, still wearing her coat, still composed, still thinking. They allowed her one phone call. She dialed from the corridor phone. Her husband, Adrian Rhodes, answered on the second ring. "Adrian, listen carefully," she said, voice low and controlled. "Do not say anything. Do not come to the station. Do not call anyone. Meet me at the courthouse in the morning. I will explain everything then. Trust me." "Are you safe?" he asked. "I will be. I love you." She returned to the cell and sat on the metal bench. The fluorescent lights buzzed. The toilet in the corner dripped. She closed her eyes, not defeated, but strategizing. At his desk, Harlan completed his arrest report with confidence. He uploaded his body camera footage and noted that the video equipment had malfunctioned, audio only available. He did not know the audio had kept running, capturing every dismissive laugh, every biased assumption. He finished the report, logged out, and went home, convinced the case was closed. Lena did not sleep. At dawn, she was released, charges pending DA review. She signed for her property and walked out into the morning air. The Mercedes waited in the impound lot. She got in, started the engine, and noticed the fresh scrapes on the door handle where the cuffs had bitten into the metal. Evidence, permanent reminder. She drove home to Buckhead. Adrian opened the door before she reached it. Relief, then anger, then confusion crossed his face. "Allie, what the hell happened?" "Not now," she said. "I need to shower, then I will explain everything." She stood under the hottest water she could bear, washing away the residue of the holding cell, but not the anger that remained fueling her. She opened her closet and reached for her judicial robes. Black fabric, heavy, authoritative. This was armor, this was power returning. She dressed methodically, each button a reclaiming, each layer a restoration. In the kitchen, Adrian had made coffee. She poured a cup, took a sip, and finally looked at him. "Last night, Officer Harlan Beck arrested me for driving my own car. He claimed it was stolen. Dispatch confirmed it was not. He arrested me anyway and charged me with impersonating a public official." Adrian's face moved through disbelief, rage, calculation. "We sue. Federal civil rights violation. I'll have papers filed by—" "No," she said, voice firm. "Not yet. I am handling this my way. Meet me at the courthouse. You will understand then." He studied her face and recognized the look. Trial face. Strategy face. "What are you planning?" "Justice," she said simply. She drove to the courthouse, parked in the judge's reserved section, and went directly to her chambers. She opened the case file on her desk. State of Georgia versus Harlan Beck. Excessive force allegations. A 17-year-old named Devin Ellis. Traffic stop gone wrong. Harlan's knee on the boy's back. Disproportionate response. Pattern of behavior. She read it again with new eyes, personal eyes, victim eyes, because now she was not only the judge, she was evidence. She was Exhibit A in a pattern she had not known she would become part of. A text arrived, "Courtroom ready, parties arriving." She stood, put on her robes, and checked her reflection. Composed. Professional. No sign of the night before. But beneath the robes, rage burned cold, calculating, patient. She picked up her gavel, felt its weight, the authority it carried. She did not need to call a lawyer. She was the law. And soon, Officer Harlan Beck would learn exactly what that meant. Earlier that night, Reed Harper had sat in the precinct locker room, unable to sleep. He pulled out his tablet and reviewed the dash camera footage from his patrol car. He watched the Mercedes pulled over. He watched Lena's immediate compliance, hands on the steering wheel. He watched Harlan dismiss the documents without reading them and escalate without cause. He noticed something critical. The timestamp showed Harlan had placed Lena in handcuffs before dispatch confirmation came back. Protocol violation. He watched the footage 3 more times. Each viewing confirmed what he already knew. This was wrong, not a mistake, not a judgment call. Wrong. At the morning briefing, Reed overheard Harlan and Diane speaking in low voices. "IA might ask questions about last night," Diane said. "Let them ask," Harlan replied, stirring creamer into his coffee. "I followed procedure. She matched the profile we've been trained to watch for." Reed froze, cup halfway to his mouth. He was listening to them coordinate a story, workshop their language, cover their tracks. They had done this before. It was practice, systematic. His father's words from his police academy graduation echoed in his head. His father, a first-generation immigrant from Ireland who had built a construction business from nothing, had gripped his shoulder with pride and caution. "You became an officer so people like us would be safe. Now be the officer we needed when we first came here, not the one we feared. Promise me." Reed had promised. He had not fully understood the weight of those words then. He understood now. He dumped his coffee and drove to the Internal Affairs office. Detective Simone Vargas looked up from her desk. 15 years in IA. She had seen every excuse, every lie, every cover-up. "I witnessed something last night," Reed said. "Traffic stop. Officer Beck, I think there was misconduct." "You think or you know?" "I have dash camera footage." Simone studied him. She saw the fear, the moral struggle, the career calculations. I can accept evidence through our anonymous digital Dropbox, upload the file, include timestamp and location. I'll take it from there. Reed uploaded the footage with a short note. Traffic stop on I-85. Officer Beck, possible misconduct. My conscience can't let this go. Simone watched the video. Her jaw tightened. She paused when Lena's face appeared in the spotlight and zoomed in. Recognition flashed across her face. Officer Harper, she said, voice sharper now. Do you know who this woman is? No, ma'am. Should I? You will. Everyone will, very soon. She stood and checked the hallway. You did the right thing coming to me. This stays confidential. Go back to work. Act normal. Say nothing to anyone. Understood? Yes, ma'am. As he turned to leave, she added, Your conscience did you credit. Don't lose that. Reed drove back to the precinct, hands shaking. He had done the right thing. It might cost him everything, but he had done it. Back in her office, Simone locked the door and played the footage again. She picked up her phone and called Captain Malcolm Price. Captain, it's Vargas. We need to talk before court this morning. It's urgent. How urgent? Career-ending urgent, and it involves Judge Lena Rhodes. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Simone made another call, this time directly to the police chief. Chief, you need to be in courtroom 3 this morning. Don't ask questions. Just be there and bring your phone. You'll want to document this. She hung up and began documenting timestamps, screenshots, and chain of custody. This case was different. A judge had been arrested hours before presiding over her arresting officer's trial. This one would explode. At home, Harlan Beck showered, shaved, and put on his dress uniform for court. His phone buzzed. A text from his lawyer, Dean Carver. Judge hasn't changed. Stick to script. Professional tone only. Harlan texted back while adjusting his tie. Had a weird stop last night. Woman claimed to be a judge. Tried everything. Name was Rhodes. Lena Rhodes. Whole briefcase full of fake credentials. Impressive, honestly. He hit send and grabbed his keys. He did not see Dean's response because Dean did not reply. He simply stared at his phone, sat down hard in his office chair, and closed his eyes. He knew that name. He had appeared before Judge Lena Rhodes twice in the past year. Professional, fair, thorough, unforgiving of procedural violations. Dean looked at the case file on his desk. State versus Harlan Beck. Trial starting soon. His client had just arrested his own judge the night before. He did not call to warn Harlan. If he warned him now, it might look like obstruction. Better to assess the situation in person. At the courthouse, Harlan arrived and walked through security. Colleagues nodded and wished him luck. He was not worried. He had a strong defense. He had followed training. The kid in his case had been resisting. Everything by the book. Dean arrived 5 minutes later and found Harlan waiting outside courtroom 3. Blake, he said, face carefully neutral. The bailiff opened the doors. All rise. The Honorable Judge Lena Rhodes presiding. Harlan walked in, still talking to Dean, looking down at his notes. The side door opened. The judge's entrance, 3 steps up to the bench. Harlan looked up. Time stopped. Recognition hit like a freight train. His eyes widened. Blinked. Widened again. His brain refused to accept what he was seeing. Color drained from his face until it was ashen gray. His lips parted, but no sound came out. The briefcase slipped from his fingers and hit the floor with a thud that echoed through the courtroom. His knees unlocked, he swayed forward, right hand shooting out to grip the edge of the defense table. His left hand clutched his chest. He could not breathe. Cold sweat broke across his forehead. Dean grabbed his elbow hard. Sit down now. Harlan collapsed into the chair. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. Everyone was watching. The bailiff stepped forward. Sir, are you all right? Do you need medical attention? Harlan shook his head violently, unable to form words. Lena settled into her chair and took her time arranging papers on the bench. Every movement deliberate. Controlled. She did not look at him yet. She was making him wait, making him suffer. The gallery whispered. In the back row, Captain Malcolm Price sat with his phone out, recording. Simone Vargas sat beside him, also recording, both documenting this moment. Evidence. Lena finally looked up. Her eyes locked on Harlan for 3 full seconds, unblinking, cold. He could not hold her gaze. He looked down, hands trembling visibly. Counsel, she said, voice glacial formal. Does your client require medical assistance? We can recess for 10 minutes if needed. Dean stood, one hand still on Harlan's shoulder. No, Your Honor. We're ready to proceed. Good morning, Lena said to the full courtroom. Case number 2024-CR-842, State of Georgia versus Harlan Beck. Excessive force allegations. Before we begin, I need to make a disclosure to the court. The word disclosure hit Harlan like a second blow. His head snapped up. Fresh panic crossed his face. Assistant DA Nora Ellison stood, young and prepared. Ready, Your Honor. I said I need to make a disclosure first, Counselor. Lena's voice cut sharp. Please be seated. Nora sat confused. Complete silence fell over the courtroom. Every eye was on Lena. Harlan's breathing was ragged, audible. I was stopped by Officer Harlan Beck on Interstate 85. I was subsequently arrested on suspicion of operating a stolen vehicle and false impersonation of a public official. I was held in custody through the night and released at dawn without charges filed. The courtroom erupted. Gasps, whispers, shock rippling through every row. Nora's mouth dropped open. She turned to look at Harlan, then back at Lena, connecting the dots. Dean closed his eyes and exhaled slowly. He had known it was bad. He had not known it was this bad. Lena continued, voice steady and professional. Georgia Code of Judicial Conduct requires disclosure of any interaction between a presiding judge and parties appearing before the court that might create an appearance of bias or conflict of interest. I have now made this disclosure fully and completely. I am not recusing myself from this case. Dean stood immediately. Your Honor, with all respect, this creates an unavoidable appearance of impropriety. The defendant arrested you hours before trial. This court must recognize, Counselor, Lena cut him off, that your client arrested me unlawfully based on racial profiling and explicit violation of procedure. If anything, I am predisposed to be more scrupulously fair to ensure this proceeding is unimpeachable on appeal. My ruling today will be based solely and exclusively on evidence presented in this courtroom. Are we clear? Dean calculated quickly. Arguing further would only damage his client. Yes, Your Honor. Good, then let's proceed with opening statements. Prosecution, you may begin. Nora approached the podium, finally understanding the full weight of what she was about to present. This was no longer just one excessive force case. This was pattern evidence. This was everything. Your Honor, the state will demonstrate that Officer Harlan Beck used excessive force during a routine traffic stop of 17-year-old Devin Ellis. She played the body camera footage from that earlier incident. The same pattern was visible to everyone watching. Aggressive commands, disproportionate physical response. Devin on the ground with Harlan's knee on his back too long, too much pressure, the boy crying, begging, not resisting. Devin took the stand, still looking younger than his years, scared but honest. I was reaching for my registration like he asked. He yanked my door open and pulled me out. I didn't resist. I was terrified. Dean cross-examined, doing his job, trying to create reasonable doubt. Harlan had followed training protocols for a subject showing furtive movements and potential resistance. I wasn't resisting, Devin said quietly but firmly. I was shaking because I was scared. Lena watched and listened. She saw the pattern she had not been able to see before because she had not been part of it yet. Now she was. She leaned forward. I would like to examine the defendant's pattern of conduct more thoroughly. Prosecution, are you aware of any similar incidents involving Officer Beck? Nora hesitated. Your Honor, we have documentation of prior complaints, but they were all dismissed by supervisory review before reaching. I am not asking about complaints that were dismissed, Lena said sharply. I am asking about incidents, documented interactions, traffic stops, arrests. Nora understood. We can request those records from... The back courtroom doors opened. Detective Simone Vargas walked down the center aisle carrying a sealed folder. Every eye followed her. Detective Vargas, Internal Affairs Division, Lena said. Please state your purpose. Your Honor, Internal Affairs received evidence of an incident involving Officer Beck that demonstrates a pattern of conduct directly relevant to the charges before this court. I have video evidence, audio recordings, and documentary analysis. Dean jumped up. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. We haven't been provided discovery. This evidence pertains to an incident that occurred recently. There hasn't been time for formal discovery. I am allowing it under my discretion as directly relevant to pattern evidence. Your objection is noted for the record. Dean sat. He knew he was trapped. Simone approached the prosecution table and handed Nora a USB drive. Dash camera footage from the traffic stop, timestamp clearly visible. The courtroom monitor displayed Reed Harper's dash camera footage. The Mercedes pulled over, spotlight, Harlan approaching with aggressive body language, Lena's hands on the steering wheel, visible compliance, documents presented immediately, Harlan barely looking, dismissing them, escalating without cause. The gallery gasped. Some recognized their judge being arrested, being humiliated. Harlan's aggression was clear, spinning Lena around, excessive force on her arm, the cuffs too tight, her gasp of pain, Diane arriving, approving, supervising, Reed visible in the background, silent, filming, witnessing. Lena spoke from the bench in a clinical tone. That is me. Notice the timestamp. Notice I presented registration immediately upon request. Notice the registration was valid, visible in the headlight beam. Notice I made no resistant movements whatsoever. The courtroom erupted again. Whispers, gasps, people turning to each other in disbelief. Order, the bailiff called. Harlan's face was deep red now, sweating profusely. He looked at Dean with desperate eyes. Dean would not meet his gaze. Your Honor, Simone continued, Officer Beck's body camera video malfunctioned during this stop. However, audio recording continued. I have that audio. Play it, Lena said. Harlan's voice filled the courtroom speakers, clear and damning. People like you always think you can drive cars like this. I know exactly what I'm looking at. Lena's voice calm and measured. Officer, this is my vehicle. I'm Judge Lena Rhodes, Fulton County Circuit Court. You can verify. Harlan laughing, dismissive, cruel. Sure you are, real creative, and I'm the president. Diane's voice. Process her fully. Document everything by the book. Harlan again. She matches the profile perfectly. Expensive car, late night, black woman. We both know how this works. The audio stopped. Silence in the courtroom, deafening, everyone processing what they had just heard, the explicit bias, the racial profiling, the conscious decision to arrest despite evidence. Lena's voice cut through the silence, cold, controlled fury barely contained. Officer Beck, what profile was I matching? Harlan stood shakily. Dean tried to pull him back down. Your Honor, I didn't know you were... Sit down, Lena said, not loud but absolute authority. You will answer questions when addressed by counsel, not before. Harlan collapsed back into his chair. Dean gripped his arm, keeping him there. Simone presented a bound report with the official Internal Affairs seal. Your Honor, Internal Affairs conducted an emergency analysis. In recent months, Officer Beck has conducted 11 traffic stops fitting an identical pattern. Luxury vehicles, Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, Tesla, all drivers black. Professional appearance, late evening hours. 8 resulted in arrest on suspicion of vehicle theft or false documentation. All 8 arrests were subsequently dropped, no charges filed, 0 resulted in disciplinary action. Nora stood. Your Honor, this establishes a clear documented pattern of racially motivated misconduct and selective enforcement. Simone continued. Additionally, Officer Beck's personnel file shows 3 formal complaints filed over the past couple of years for excessive force, racial profiling, and falsification of reports. All 3 were recently expunged from his record by Lieutenant Victor Shaw without proper review committee process. Violation of department policy. Who authorized those expungements? Lena asked. Lieutenant Shaw, Your Honor. He is currently under investigation for obstruction of internal reviews and supervisory negligence. The gallery erupted again. Reporters scrambled for phones. This was bigger than one case. This was systemic. Lena waited for the chaos to settle, then addressed Harlan directly. Officer Beck, you arrested me for false impersonation of a public official. I was driving home from a legal consultation after reviewing case files for court. Do you know which case I was reviewing? Silence. Harlan could not speak. Lena lifted the case file from her bench and held it up so everyone could see it. State of Georgia versus Harlan Beck, your case. You arrested the judge presiding over your trial for a crime that did not exist. Using racial profiling you have practiced systematically for years with a pattern your department covered up. She set the file down and looked directly at him. I have heard sufficient evidence, Officer Beck. I find you guilty of excessive force in the case of Devin Ellis. The evidence is overwhelming, and your pattern of conduct demonstrates this was not an isolated incident but standard practice for you. Harlan's head dropped to the table. A broken sob escaped him. Lena continued, I am also referring your conduct from that night to the district attorney for criminal prosecution under federal civil rights law and Georgia law for false imprisonment by a law enforcement officer. She was not finished. Sergeant Diane Porter, you are hereby referred to Internal Affairs for supervisory negligence, enabling misconduct, and failure to intervene. Lieutenant Victor Shaw, you will answer to the district attorney for obstruction of justice and tampering with official records. Her final words were measured and powerful. This courtroom operates on evidence, not assumptions, on law, not bias, on justice, not prejudice. Officer Beck, you showed me exactly who you are when you thought no one with power was watching. Today, I am showing you exactly what justice looks like when the system finally holds its own accountable. The gavel fell, single crack, final, absolute. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed. Captain Malcolm Price stood at a hastily arranged podium for damage control and accountability. The Fulton County Police Department takes all allegations of misconduct with utmost seriousness. Officer Harlan Beck has been suspended without pay pending criminal investigation. A reporter shouted, Captain, was Judge Rhodes targeted because she was presiding over Beck's case? Is this retaliation? We are investigating whether this incident constitutes witness intimidation and obstruction of justice. If so, federal charges will apply. The FBI has been notified. Another reporter called out, what about the pattern Detective Vargas mentioned? 11 incidents? A comprehensive review of all traffic stops conducted by Officer Beck over the past 3 years is underway. Any victims of misconduct are encouraged to contact Internal Affairs directly. The damage was done. The department's reputation was shattered. Rebuilding would take years. From a side exit, Reed Harper walked to his car, head down, avoiding the media. Officer Harper? He turned. Lena Rhodes approached, still in her robes. His stomach dropped. Your Honor, you were at the scene that night. He nodded, terrified of what came next. I'm sorry I didn't speak up then, he said, words tumbling out. I should have stopped it. I just froze. Lena stopped him, her hand on his shoulder. But you didn't stay frozen. You gave Internal Affairs the evidence. That took more courage than speaking up in the moment would have. You risked your career, your financial security, everything. Reed's eyes watered. He had expected anger, blame, termination. My father always told me to be the officer people need, not the one they fear, he said quietly. I couldn't let it go. Your father raised you right, Lena said. The department needs more officers like you, not fewer. Remember that when this gets harder. Will it get harder? Lena nodded. Yes, your colleagues will resent you. Some will call you things I won't repeat. But you'll sleep at night. And you'll build a career you're proud of. That matters more. Reed nodded, understanding. He walked to his car, standing a little taller than before. In the days that followed, consequences rolled out like dominoes. Officer Harlan Beck was fired immediately and arrested. Federally charged with civil rights violations, facing years in prison. Bail was set high. He remained in custody awaiting trial. The irony was not lost on anyone. Sergeant Diane Porter was suspended without pay, demoted to patrol officer with no supervisory authority, required to complete mandatory bias training, transferred to a different precinct, and placed on probationary status. Lieutenant Victor Shaw was given an early retirement option. He chose retirement but lost his supervisory pension enhancement, a significant reduction for life. The FBI opened a pattern and practice investigation into the Fulton County Police Department's traffic enforcement practices. Consent decree proceedings became possible. Federal oversight loomed. In her chambers, Lena sat across from the police chief and deputy chief. Both looked uncomfortable. "Chief, apologies mean nothing without systemic change," she said. She slid a typed list across the desk. "Here's what I need." The list was long, specific, non-negotiable. Mandatory bias training for the entire department, revised stop and search protocols, an independent review board with civilian oversight, body camera policy overhaul with third-party investigation of malfunctions, an independent internal affairs oversight board with civilian members holding equal voting power, quarterly traffic stop data published publicly with demographic breakdowns. The chief read it, face tight. "Judge, some of these require city council approval and budget allocation. I can't just..." "Then get approval. Get budget, or I refer this entire matter to the Department of Justice for consent decree proceedings. Your choice." The chief paused, calculating. "I'll need 6 months to implement." "You have 4. Written progress reports monthly delivered to my chambers. I will be monitoring personally." The chief nodded. He had no real choice. He signed the acknowledgement and left. Lena allowed herself a small smile, the first in weeks. In the courthouse hallway at the end of a long day, Lena walked to her car. "Judge Rhodes." She turned. Devin Ellis approached. He looked older somehow, or perhaps simply less scared. "I wanted to thank you," he said, for him and for me." He held up a document. "You expunged my arrest record." "You did nothing wrong, Devin. The record should reflect that." "What are you doing now?" "Community college, criminal justice major. I want to be a lawyer, maybe a prosecutor." Lena smiled with genuine warmth. "Good. We need people who understand both sides. Keep my card. Call me if you need a recommendation letter." Devin left. Lena watched him go, hope visible in her expression. This was why she did it. Not for the convictions, not for the power, for the Devin Ellises, the ones who got second chances, the ones who survived the system and decided to fix it. In the Internal Affairs Office, Detective Simone Vargas reviewed an application. Officer Reed Harper was applying for a detective position within Internal Affairs, youngest applicant in department history. She called him in for an interview, tested him, challenged him with hard questions. "Most officers avoid this division. We're not popular." "Because someone has to do it," Reed said simply, and I know what it costs to look away. I won't do that again." Simone smiled. "You're hired. Probationary detective, 6 months. Don't make me regret this." Reed nodded, serious. "I won't." Before long, he was handling his own cases, investigating other officers, facing their resentment and silent treatment in the locker room. But his father's voice stayed with him. Be the officer we needed. He was every day, one case at a time. At home one evening, Lena sat with Adrian on the couch, glass of wine in hand, the first quiet moment in weeks. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Really okay? Not Judge okay, Allie okay?" She considered the question honestly. "I'm tired, bone tired, angry still, but okay. We started something real. Systems are changing slowly, but it's moving." Adrian took her hand. "What you did, that wasn't just about you, was it?" "No, it was about every person who gets pulled over and knows something's wrong but has no power to stop it. I had power. I had to use it. There will be pushback, appeals, retaliation attempts." "I know," she said, "but we started something. That's enough for today." In her chambers late one afternoon, Lena reviewed new case files. Work continued. Justice did not stop. A knock on the door. Detective Reed Harper, now with Internal Affairs, delivered a report on another officer, another investigation. "Detective Harper," Lena said, "congratulations on the promotion." "Thank you, Your Honor." He handed her the file. "Preliminary report on Officer Jackson as you requested." She took it. "How's the work?" "Finding my footing. It's hard. Some officers won't talk to me, but I'm sleeping at night." Lena smiled. "That's the job. Keep doing it well." Reed left. Lena returned to her files. The work continued. It would always continue. Justice did not sleep. Neither did she. The scrapes were still on her car door from the handcuffs. She had kept them. She had asked the dealership to leave them untouched. Some reminders were worth keeping.